This Icon podcast is hosted and sponsored by Sphere Rocket Virtual Assistants, a leading provider for your virtual assistants and outsourcing needs. Owned by one of the top-ranking EXP agents, Justin Nelson. Sphere Rocket VA provides a one-stop virtual staffing solution for business owners, and we specialize in helping business owners grow their business by leveraging through virtual assistants. Trusted by the top names in the real estate industry like Kyle Whistle, Andrew Franklin, John Kitchens, and many more. Get ready to up your success and we'll help you achieve your business goals. Book your free consultation at sphererocketva.com and find out how we can make your life easier.
Hello, hello. Welcome back to another episode of the Icon Podcast, brought to you in part by Sphere Rocket VA. I am your host, Gianna, and Derek, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. And yourself?
Awesome.
Great. Well, thank you for taking the time out of your busy iconic schedule to talk to us today. And so I guess that being said, take us back to the beginning. Who's Derek? What market are you in now? And how'd you get dragged into real estate?
So I've been in business now. This will be 18 years. I can't believe it. I don't feel that old. I feel like 25 maybe, but
you look 25. Easy.
Yeah, you can't start at 7. So I got into real estate, back in 2004, kind of in the middle of one of the market cycles. And I was actually a full-time commercial loan officer, and I had a degree in marketing and business management from Northern Kentucky University. I had spent at that point about 6 years or so in the corporate world and worked a couple Fortune 100 companies and realized that I was not meant to be a corporate guy. I wanted to be an entrepreneur, be out on my own. I always had all these crazy entrepreneurial ideas. So I took a lot of what I learned in the real estate or in the corporate world of marketing and business and started my own real estate company in 2004.
Okay, awesome. What a journey you've had so far.
Yeah, it's been fun.
That's really cool. So you started kind of on the back end of real estate, kind of figuring that stuff out and got drawn to this side of it. So then how'd you find EXP? You know, how'd you get roped into this brokerage? Was it your first one? Did you hear about it?
I've been in a few, yeah. So I started at a very traditional brokerage because my mom had purchased a home from this lady. She was super sweet. She was like 70 years old and said, "You need to meet my boss." So I went and met with this guy and he said, "Yeah, you're going to be great in real estate." And so I started at this very traditional local company and they were like number 2 in our market. And within about 6 months, the first year, year I was in business, I made $20,000 or something, and then I learned how to start leveraging the web in 2004 or 5, where I started doing search engine optimization, Google pay-per-click, Ask Jeeves, and Yahoo, all these sites that aren't even around anymore. So back in 2005, I started optimizing my own website. I basically built like a framed website around an MLS search tool through WolfNet Technologies. I got so many leads off of it that I had to start a team right away. So my wife joined our group, which was just the 2 of us. We hired a secretary. We then grew to, 5 agents within about a year and a half. And our little brokerage that I was part of really didn't understand teams. They didn't understand how to divide checks and admins, and our signs were different than everybody else's. And, I didn't want the corporate sign. I didn't want the corporate number, which everyone else is like, well, they're free. I'm like, they're costing you $100,000 a year off of leads because you're putting the main office phone number on the sign because they gave it to you for free. At that time, they just started coming out with websites, and the website address was the main company website. There was no even /Derek. There was nothing. It was just straight. So literally people got these free signs from the brokerage, put them all over town. And I was like, no, I'm not doing that. So I went out and bought my own signs, which was like heresy at the time. And so I had to use the custom logo from the company, but I wanted my own website address, my own sign writer with my name on it, with my own phone number, which was really revolutionary at the time in 2004, 2005.
The words out of my mouth, I was going to say, wow, revolutionary.
Well, this was crazy, right? These guys were all advertising on park benches and yellow pages at the time. Yeah. So I was kind of the new young kid, and everybody's like, "Oh, he's never going to make it. He doesn't understand how this system works." And then within about 6 months to a year, they were having me teach technology classes at our company, and I was still one of the newest agents in the company, and I started doing six figures, and I'm like, you know what? I'm quitting my other job. So I at that time I was still part time. I was doing all this like with my wife part time. So I was like, okay, we're kicking this into full motion. So I joined Keller Williams at the time. They came into our
Mhm.
town, and they knew all about teams. They knew how to like configure teams. So that I spent some time there. I went to Remax for a little while. Back to Keller Williams. I actually started my own franchise of Keller Williams with a couple partners. I bought a market center. We started it from scratch. We had the four of us grew it to about, when I left, I think 125 agents, and that was within 2.5 years.
Wow.
And then EXP started gaining some popularity in our market, and I kept being told, hey, it's like a scam. It's like a 7-level marketing thing, and I'm like, wait a minute, like Keller Williams is kind of like that too. We've got this layers, and we've got sponsors. And the number one profit share earner at the time in our company that I knew of was making a little over $1 million a year at
Wow.
Keller Williams for the whole country, and I thought it took her like 25 years to do that in the system. And I looked at some of these guys that EXP was churning out, and I knew that wasn't the primary reason to join, but I thought, this is a fast growing company. It looks interesting. I'm an entrepreneurial person. I like independence. And I felt like a strong calling from God to like do something different. Like I've got to kind of be more independent with my own beliefs. I wrote 2 books. I could get into all that, but I started a coaching program, and I thought this is the greatest way I can go out and like build my own franchise without anyone else being a partner. And so like, at the time, I think the average Keller Williams franchise was selling for like $300,000. And to start an EXP franchise, I sat down with somebody, and they're like, I'm like, how much is it going to be? And they're like, it's going to be 200. And I'm like, 200,000. They're like, $200. And I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, you can pretty much start your own EXP business for like $200. I'm like, it doesn't make sense. They're like, trust me, it works. I'm like, all right. So I looked into it, and I was like, yeah, I just want to be my own boss and kind of have my own, thing. So that's what I did. I started like a little office, and basically I didn't have to invest hundreds of thousands of dollars to do it. And now I've got, I don't know, I think 11 people on my kind of first level sponsorship. So I don't have a huge group or anything, but I'm enjoying my life. I work like 30 hours a week and make decent money, and own some rental properties and some other stuff. So I live a pretty good life.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I mean, obviously, it's going well for you because you're doing enough production to achieve the icon status, which is fabulous to hear. Sounds like you've got a nice little work-life balance there. And so, when you saw EXP's model, you're like, wow, look at the scalability. I can keep my branding. Like, they're with the technological era. They're evolving. They're not the type to get left behind. You're like, wow, I see this. So, what keeps you with EXP? Have you come over and like fallen in love with the revenue share, stock options, collaboration, or is it still just that scalability that you're still, really tied to here?
Yeah, well, so before I tell you why I'm still here, I should say too that, with the people that I met at Remax, Keller Williams, and the traditional brokerage I was with, awesome people. I still hang out with a lot of them, right? Like, I
Of
think a
course.
big misperception out there is that you draw these lines in the sand and like, oh, I'm never going to go back there again. I'm never going to see those people again. And obviously, the best advice I could give anyone, especially, I've been fortunate. I've sold over 1,500 properties now in my career. You gotta like keep all the bridges open. You keep all those relationships warm. You still go out and have a coffee with, your rival agent. You still see another agent at an open house, and you embrace them warmly, and you stay in contact, and you communicate with other agents. Even if I primarily do about 80% of my business as listings, so 80-20. So I have to, tell a lot of agents that their buyers did not win the contract. And so that Dear John letter, or whatever you want to call it, having these warm relationships. So even though I've been with these other companies, and it's for the different reasons, like we can talk about models are different or this, that, the true reason I think I stay is because I really have this, I'm a very entrepreneurial person. I'm very independent. And I really just don't want personally to have to, since I like to own things and do them myself, I don't necessarily want to share like even with we own luxury Airbnb properties, my wife and I do, and I could have gone in and collaborated with other people and bought shares of houses, and it's like I just don't. I mean, I'm a nice guy and I like to get along with people, but at the same time, I just don't like to share decision making and responsibilities. And I think that's the beautiful thing about this company is really you can be very independent if you want to. Now, I collaborate with people all the time. I have great business partnerships, but they are collaborations, partnerships, strategic ventures. I can get in them easily and get out of them easily. I'm not tied to a long-term LLC with one other person or 5 other people. And so that the reason I'm saying that is there's so many great agents out there I've done business with. I don't necessarily need to be in business with them. I can do business with them, right? There's a big difference.
And, not burning those bridges, like you said, keeping those relationships warm, that's okay.
Yeah.
It's not like we're not in a Disney movie where your rivals sworn to, your Captain Hook and Peter Pan. That's not what it is. You're just jumping across the fence, seeing that the grass is greener. And for some, it's not the right fit, and that's okay. It's always okay to go back. So is that why you stay at EXP? Because, I've met people that are like, yeah, I have 8,000 agents on my team. I'm like, wow, congratulations, and you're just kind of like, I'm flying solo. Like I've got a little team going and it's perfect that way. I live a good life. Is that why you stay?
Yeah. I mean, so for me, I like the idea that I can, I take advantage of the stock purchase program, and because I sell a good volume amount of homes, that adds up. And so I like the company match where I get stock purchased for me every month. I'm not a great saver. Like I own a decent amount of things, but cash savings has never been like, oh, I'm really good at this. Most real estate agents struggle with saving for taxes and saving for their retirement. And I found that like I've had these teams for all these years, and I found that's like the most common issue. So for me, it was like an automatic savings plan. The money goes into a stock account. They purchase it, whatever that end of the month stock. I'm always hoping it's low. Most agents are like, oh, I hope the stock goes to the moon. I'm like, in like 30 years, but like for now, let's keep it as low as possible so I can buy more shares. Like I don't understand the mentality of like puffing stocks up, but whatever, that's a whole nother topic. So like for me, I'm trying to accumulate as many shares as I can. So I maxed out my EXP stock sharing plan, and every month they bonus it up by 10%. And I, go to Morgan Stanley, I can actually even buy more. I'm very bullish on the long-term, EXP value. And so for me, it's like a partnership with a business I'm in. So like if you add 20 agents, and you're in a different group or a different, whatever, I'm like, awesome. She added 20 agents. And that means that my stock price is going to go up someday by a couple bucks or whatever it is. Like I look at everything as kind of working together in that way.
Absolutely. That's kind of what adds to the fire here at EXP is what I hear often is that rising tide raises all boats, right? So you get a sale, that adds stock, that adds revenue share, that adds everything. Like that's why people here don't keep their secrets to their chest. They want you here. They want to teach you. They want to be involved. That collaboration is it's really a key aspect here.
Well, you asked something I should also mention about the profit share / revenue share. So I've been with Keller Williams. I started my own franchise. Like I said, the most I ever made in a profit share check, I think was like $1,500 ever. And that was off and on since 2005. Okay. And that's with 20 agents I brought into the company. Right now, I think with 11 on my first kind of level that I've personally invited into the company, my checks are probably averaging like $1,000 a month. And so, I know that'll go up in the future. I don't really focus too much on it. To me, it's more relationships in my community. I don't go out like knocking on doors, asking people, are you going to join EXP? I just do great business. Like I'm an excellent real estate agent. I'm an excellent salesperson. I'm an excellent networker. I build quality relationships. I invite people to happy hours. I do things to just strengthen relationships. And I don't even mention EXP to anybody. They come to me and they're like, hey, tell me more about this. What's your secret? What are you doing? So there's different ways to grow your revenue share group. And and I'm not saying I'm the expert on that. Obviously, I don't have a large group. But to me, none of those people are leaving. They're all like in there organically. I know it'll grow over time. I'm not in a hurry. And, frankly, for me, it's like a bonus. That money just kind of goes into an account. and I don't worry too much about it. It's more fun and relationship building that way.
Yeah, often the model speaks for itself, and people see that you didn't have to reinvent the wheel over here. You're just rolling with it and you can hit the ground running, which is really a strong asset about EXP.
Definitely.
So Derek, you're a busy guy. You've got rental properties. You're an icon agent. You got a team. I mean, how do you take care of Derek? What's your work-life balance look like? How do you avoid a burnout mode?
So mine's more of a spiritual kind of thing. I believe that I've been created by God and he's got a plan for me. And the thing I look at is, how do I get to know this thing, this entity that invented me, like, and created me and like looks after me every day. So I believe in, regular prayer, and I believe in regular reading of my Bible. And I go to small group studies with my wife, and I go to a men's group about once a month, and I do all these things to basically strengthen the spiritual side of me. And to be honest with you, I work a lot less than I used to. I used to like have money and fame and fortune, and being the number one agent is like more that driver in my life. And then once I kind of re-examined like where that was going to go, and all the fame and fortune in the world, how empty that would leave me. And I've seen other major stars of real estate burn out and get up to the top of the stage, get that award, and then have a heart attack or a divorce or a bankruptcy or you name it, like infidelity, all these things that have happened. I'm like, is that the path that I want? Like if that's like the end goal where a lot of agents end up, is that really what I want for me in my life? I have 5 kids, and my wife and I just celebrated 25 years married. So
congratulations.
Thanks. So just a couple of months ago, so we were going to take this big trip to Europe and like do that. And, like we're like, with all the COVID stuff going on and travel restrictions, let's just throw a huge like wedding reception for all of our friends and family. So we took our budget and reallocated it to like a big wedding reception basically, and invited about 100 people out, and we had live music and valet parking and fine catered food and a hall. And it was like we got to relive the wedding reception that we couldn't afford when we were 20 years old, right?
That is so cute. That's so fun.
Yeah, and so but again, it was about relationships. We put that over, whatever. Like I also bought my wife a nice horse because we have a farm.
Okay. Yeah.
The horse that she'd always wanted was a Frisian, and we could never afford a Frisian because it's kind of an exotic animal. And we found one right around our wedding anniversary time, and I said, hey, pick out whichever one you want. And part of the blessings of this business is you get to have a little fun with your money too, right? So I basically picked out, she picked it out, I paid for it, and then she turned around, she's like, well, what do you want? I was like, well, I've always wanted this exotic sports car. She's like, well, go get it, now's the time.
Go get it, she said.
So I was like, all right. So I was able to go out and pay cash for a really nice exotic sports car. And so I'm like, okay, thank you, Lord. Like, so that balance is like, we've saved, we've put the kids first, we've done other things in our life, and now it's like we're getting to the point where you don't need as much money to live on every month. We give away money, we do some charitable things, but I also believe in having some fun while you're still on this earth, on this side, so having a good time with our money as well is going to be kind of our next 70 years or so. I don't know,
the next chapter in life. I love that. That's really cool. It sounds like you got a good balance. It's healthy. You got your eyes on the prize, which is just a nice, intimate lifestyle with things that you enjoy, and that's okay. It's good to hear.
Yes.
So, with how busy you are and the high production and everything, what does that Icon Award mean to you? Like maybe somebody's watching right now and they're like, what's the Icon Award? What are they talking about? In your own words, can you kind of explain what it is, what it meant to you, and benefits that came from it?
So I think the big thing for me is I knew what the prize was, and I knew generally what the qualifications were, but I paid no attention to it, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I just did my normal production, and someone's like, hey, you got the icon. I'm like, really? I hit that? I wasn't really trying. So, and I'm not saying that to brag, but like, I think some people put so much of a focus on it that it's like obsessive, and they're trying to manipulate how many sales, and let's close this one before that one. I mean, if you're close, I understand wanting to get that status. That's awesome. But I think the big key is if you do the right things day to day in your business. I teach a class in the Icon series called Building. We actually had to change the name because it was a similar name. This one's called Winning with a Referral Based Business, I think is the name of the class. Winning with a Referral Based Business. But basically, it's like I've done most of my business through referrals, agent referrals, client referrals. I mean, I'm the agent that other agents use. Like other agents will come to town, and I'm the one that represents them, finding them a house. So I know I've earned that kind of reputation. And then also their friends and their family and out-of-state agents, they'll be like, hey, you got to take care of this person. So to me, that is like, you do those things right, then things like the Icon Award are going to come naturally because the company can't not give it to you. Like you've done so well and you're making so much contribution to the company that, they interviewed me and they're like, so how'd you get here? And I'm like, I don't know. Did you guys figure out, did you do the sales right?
Yeah.
And it was fun, so, and I'm not demeaning anything about the award. It's a great award. But if you put your focus on the right things, I think those things will come along secondly, right?
Yeah, and I've had a lot of conversations about that. Like, oh yeah, like shoot for the moon, you'll land amongst the stars, which I agree. But at the same time, like, if you're like, oh, I want an icon, and you're so focused on that, you may lose, you may become so transactionally focused that you lose sight of everything else that it takes to become an icon. And so, just doing the right thing, getting people into homes, focusing on yourself, on your brand, everything else in between. You're right. It will come naturally.
Exactly. And it's going to be more fun too. Like I just have a lot of fun in my business. I mean, other agents know me and my kids. I mean, I just laugh all the time. I make fun of myself. I make fun of other people sometimes too, but in a nice, loving way. But like, it's like life's too short to take it all serious all the time. So I would say that's the number one thing is make sure you're having fun with your business. Like don't get down. I mean, there are seasons in life where it's just not a fun season. You might be in health wise or finances or, relationships in your life, or maybe, some kind of a battle that you're going through. Literally, like we know, if there's a real estate agent in Ukraine right now, like it's hard for them to have fun, right? I understand.
Right. I'm sure. Yeah.
Not everyone should have fun all the time. I understand that. But in general, if that's your attitude, like I'm going to make the best out of whatever's happening, even if it's a bad inspection or the appraisal went south or your buyer just used, their friend to buy a house and you had been helping them for a year. I mean, I've been through with 1,500 home sales, I've seen every scenario you can imagine to both win or lose, I hope, at this point. So I'm well prepared, I hope, for the next thing that happens and just you're like, okay, well, let's just let it go, whatever. Absolutely. So that's kind of that.
That's a great attitude to have towards it, though, because you're not going to win every deal. There's nothing you can really do to prevent something crazy from falling out, like you said. So many scenarios have happened. The impossible has happened, and it's come back to you. And who else knows? Who else knows what could happen next? Exactly. So at one point you were on the outside of EXP. Maybe you were a little skeptical about it. You saw the greener grass, and you made the jump. And some people are like, "Oh my gosh, EXP is a pyramid scheme. It's a cult. I'm not drinking the EXP juice. You guys are crazy." What would you have to say to somebody like? Maybe it's yourself sitting on that ledge, years ago, or, somebody watching right now that may be trying to lean in, but a little skeptical.
I'd say the biggest problem I had, so this is $1 million mistake I made. So about 4 years ago, when someone first told me about EXP, it was kind of a casual conversation. And then a industry icon that I respected at the time that was part of the company I was with went on stage and basically poo-pooed all over EXP. And I trusted that person and I trusted their opinion to such a high level that I didn't even look into it for myself. And that mistake there cost me over $1 million in stock because I've done the math. I know if I would have joined then and just my stock contribution, the icon status, those things multiplied times what the stock has done over the last 3.5 years, it was $1 million mistake. So I believe everything happens for a reason. And, I don't mourn the loss of the money that isn't mine, but I do know that if there's other agents out there like, oh, I've heard this. So did I. I heard a lot of things. And I didn't take the time to really personally investigate it, sit down on a piece of paper and actually pros and cons, scratch it out, do the spreadsheets. I mean, I've seen people post crazy things on Facebook about different companies. And I'm like, the more somebody hates on a company, the more I'm probably like, there might be something there, It's like I've learned that lesson. I got burned the first time. So I would just say do your own research and find somebody that you really trust and have them give you the pros and cons. Like if someone said, Derek, why wouldn't you go? Like, what's the negative side? I would just, here's some things that I don't love about the company, but every company's going to have something. And if you're not hearing that from somebody, like, here's some of the downsides. Like, for example, I just bought my son a car. Okay. With my third oldest son, he's turning 16. So I looked at every option. I love to research cars. I'm into cars. If I found one perfect car, it wouldn't have existed, right? Like, well, this one is a little bit, more safe, but it has higher miles. This one has a bigger engine, but it gets worse gas mileage. Like, there are some trade-offs in anything you do in life. So just make sure you know what both sides are. And then if you're hearing just one side, like is all bad, then you're probably not listening to what the good side of it is too. So I'm just saying, be fair to yourself by doing your own research.
Yeah, and give it a shot. Just, you don't know what you don't know. Go to that lunch, ask questions, tune into this podcast, and you can pick people that have iconed their brains. You can pick their brains through me. If there's something you want to know, reach out to them. And everybody is so eager to jump to that call here. And I love that about EXP. And I'm about out of questions for you, but that was my last one. But you also mentioned that you wrote a book, or two, actually. So do you want to talk a little bit about that? Because I'd love to hear more.
Yeah, so I told you I'm working like 30 hours a week. So it's probably a little bit of a stretch. I do work about 30 hours a week in my real estate business, but I also do other things that I find passion in, right? So one of them is I wrote 2 books. The first one was called The Lord's Prayer for Entrepreneurs. So it was this journey that I feel like God took me through, like, how do you reconcile becoming wealthy and still like being a Christian or being a godly person? Like, I thought all godly people went to hell, and I thought you couldn't get through the eye of a needle, and all these kind of crazy things we've heard. And if you're rich, you can't go to heaven because you're so greedy. And like, we have this vilification of people that have more money than we do. Like, it's always good, like, up to the amount we have. And then if they have more than that, then they must be the bad guy, right? They must have gone the bad ways, right? So I had to go through kind of a soul searching journey for a couple of years. I wrote in that book about kind of what I felt like God led me as an entrepreneur to feel about the relationship between God and money and success and fame and getting awards and being on stages and humble and all these things, like humility. There's a lot of things that mess with your brain once you start achieving. I'm not saying I'm ultra successful. As I started getting more successful, I had to reconcile these things. Some people don't handle it well and some people do. What were the differences in those kind of people? So that was my first book. And then I started, writing specifically to real estate agents in their first 5 years in the business. I think it's 85% of agents are gone. Like, you start as a real estate agent, you spend all the money, you go all the classes. Within 5 years, it's like 85% are out of the business. So why? Like, so I started doing a lot of research. Like, what are the major reasons why agents are they not prepared? Are they not educated? Are they not taking the right advice? Are they not? So I basically took 7 keys. We called it the 7 levers for success in selling real estate, or what are the 7 most powerful levers in the real estate business. So I went through every, author imaginable in real estate, and I boiled down their secrets plus mine into 7 principles. And then I went into that in the book. So started a coaching organization after that, just doing I'm not a big name coach. I don't have a lot of clients.
I think you're great. I think you're probably a great coach. Come on, Derek.
I just had fun with it. And so, so after that, I decided I was going to write another book. So in the next probably year or 2, I'll have my 3rd book out. But again, it's just, and I run a rental property business with my wife. She does 90% of the work. I do 10%. But it's enough where, like, I'm sitting in one of our Airbnb properties right now because it was the quietest place I could go to this afternoon that didn't have too much noise. So when someone's not staying in one of the homes, I get to use them as my own little office, and they're vacation homes for people coming in from out of town. So I have a lot of fun, a lot of passion, a lot of business interests, and it's just a good time to be alive,
Yeah, I'm sure it's hard to find a quiet place. How many kiddos you said? You have 5 running around? Yeah, I could see why those Airbnbs can be a nice little office space for a little bit of time. And yeah, that's really cool. Sounds like you guys have some investing going on, and really but that investing is in Airbnbs, yourselves, your businesses, your brands. And that's been really cool to talk about today.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll have to come back on and talk to us more about book number 3, because how cool is that?
Yeah, that's going to be fun.
Builds your reputation, as a real estate agent. You're like, oh my gosh, this guy's got a book. He must know what he's talking about.
Yeah, it was fun. I think I've made like $300 on book sales too. It's been amazing.
That's really cool. You don't have to be a New York bestseller. At least somebody bought it. It might be your mom. Okay.
I know she probably bought 30 copies. I think that's about where I'm at. So
she's just got them in the garage.
I might have sold a few more than that, but it's fun because every month Amazon sends me a royalty check, and sometimes it's like $10 or $50, whatever it is. I mean, it's just it's like free money. It's like so cool, I love mailbox money. I've got a few different mailbox money sources right now, and I can tell you, and I still get checks from Keller Williams. They were a great company, and I was there long enough where I get grandfathered in. So I get an EXP, KW, a couple other little things, book sales, coaching, and it's kind of fun because, it's like you never know what's going to show up in the mailbox, right?
Yeah, and you got to celebrate those little wins. How fun. That's coming from a lot of work that you've done in the past, where writing a book is not an easy feat. Recruiting a team is not an easy feat. Changing brokerages, not an easy feat. And it's really cool that you maintain those relationships there. And everything seems to be going good for you, Derek. And I'm excited for you.
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah. And I think my future is actually more exciting than my past. So I can't wait to see what's the next, whatever many years I've got here. I'm excited to see what's going to happen next.
I would have to agree. I'm excited to see what happens next for you too. Get ready for EXPCon and shareholders, because I'll probably be hunting you down there to hang out and pick your brain a little bit. But other than that, I'm pretty much done. Do you want to talk about anything else?
I'd say just everybody out there. I mean, the most important thing about real estate is just taking good care of people. I mean, if I had to leave you with that, I mean, you can summarize all the things. I mean, again, I'm a faith-based person. So there was 2 commandments that we were given out of the 10 that were the most important. And the one was to love God with all your heart. And then the second one is to love other people as you love yourself. So there's 2 parts to that. You have to love other people, which means actually serve them and do things for them. And as a business owner, as always putting a client's needs before yours, and that's always the right thing to do. But the second part of that people miss is you also have to love yourself. And if you don't like yourself, start with that, and then get to the point where you're like, I love myself. I enjoy who I am, and embrace that. And then the more comfortable you are with who you are, then the more comfortable other people will be with who you are. And then that's where I think success, one of those little secret nuggets of an entrepreneur, is to love yourself and then love other people. So I'll leave you with that. Absolutely. So well said, Derek. Thank you so much for your time today. And let's stay in touch. Let's do this again soon. All right. Sounds good. Thanks for having me on. Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye.
This Icon podcast is hosted and sponsored by Sphere Rocket Virtual Assistants, a leading provider for your virtual assistants and outsourcing needs. Owned by one of the top-ranking EXP agents, Justin Nelson. Sphere Rocket VA provides a one-stop virtual staffing solution for business owners, and we specialize in helping business owners grow their business by leveraging through virtual assistants. Trusted by the top names in the real estate industry like Kyle Whistle, Andrew Franklin, John Kitchens, and many more. Get ready to up your success, and we'll help you achieve your business goals. Book your free consultation at SphereRocketVA.com and find out how we can make your life easier.